Welcome everybody for the QB Power Hour. Today we're talking about efficient data entry. I'm really glad to have you joining us. Hector and I both are thrilled to have you here. As you can see from our little logos there, Hector and I are both advanced certified in the desktop, certified in QuickBooks Online, both one of the top 100 ProAdvisors and small business influencers. So we're glad to have you here today. I went through myself, both of us did last week, so I'm going to keep it brief, but I am a CPA with an MBA in entrepreneurship, have my own practice, Launch for Success, the author of several different courses for Intuit Academy, as well as co-author of the advanced certifications. The new QBO advanced certification is going to be coming out really soon. If you want to check those out. In my LinkedIn group that I just mentioned, I encourage you to join that LinkedIn group if you haven't already. There's over 94,000 members. There's the URL. It's Successful QuickBooks Consultants, and it's a great resource. For example, if we aren't able to answer your questions today, please go post your questions in that LinkedIn group. There's lots of people who can help answer your questions. And I am a trainer for Intuit. I started training for Intuit in the year 2007, and I'm thrilled to now be an international trainer for Intuit. I was in Montreal earlier this week speaking to them, but back in the U.S. today. So Hector, how about you? Would you like to introduce yourself? Hector, unmute yourself. Oh, Hector. He needs to unmute himself. I heard him on here right before we got started. Well, while we're waiting on Hector, he's also a CPA. He lives in Miami, Florida. He teaches QuickBooks. He's taught QuickBooks for many years. He has his own classroom setting there where he teaches that, and he also teaches some Excel training as well. He's got several masters, both in finance and tax, and he's also a member of the Intuit Trainer Writer Network. So Hector, I think we may have lost you. Hopefully you'll be able to call back in. And that's another good point. That's why there's two of us. In case I'm not available or Hector's not available, you have one or the other for us. So Hector will be calling back in, and we'll get to him in a little bit. But you can see he's got a great family there with his scuba gear on down in the area of Florida. So what we're talking about today is we're going to give you a brief introduction to the QB Power Hour. I know we have some new people on here today. We'll talk about the CPE process. Then we're going to talk about efficient data entry. Hector, are you back now? Maybe not. We're going to be talking about efficient data entry. I'll be talking about QuickBooks Online and the downloaded transactions and the new bank rules and what I like and some things that I'd like to see improved about those. Hector's going to talk about using QB Desktop and getting the data in it via batch enter transactions and the add and edit multiple list items. And then we've invited a special guest today talking about data entry. What do we do when we just have a PDF from the bank, and how can we get that data in, as well as other data in? So we're going to be having ScanWriter talk to you a little bit, and they've got a really special offer as well. So that will be the last part of our Power Hour today. And again, the QB Power Hour is roughly every 2 weeks on Thursdays. We will be going over tips, tricks, and advanced insights, both desktop and QuickBooks Online. We are not going to be going through the basics and things like that. We assume that you guys already know the basics, or you're going to be able to pick up some of that stuff somewhere else. Again, we will have a special guest that's related to our topic, because I think it's important that you all learn about things that are available that integrate with QuickBooks and help you with QuickBooks or QuickBooks Online, and also things that might help with practice management and things like that. So we want to broaden your horizons to help you learn more about that as well. Again, you can go to qbpowerhour.com. There's a place to put feedback in there. And then I encourage you all to please fill out this survey for us. It's on SurveyMonkey, and I'll put that link in there in the chat room in a little while, or maybe Hector could copy and put that in there. We will be doing a drawing where I'll be giving away some of my books. But we want to hear from you all. What is it that you want to cover and things like that? Okay? So, Hector, do we have you now? Would you like to talk about the CPE?
Can you guys hear me?
You are back. Thanks, Hector.
Okay. Not sure what happened. Anyway, if you need CPE, this webinar is eligible for CPE. This is for CPAs and certified bookkeepers and some professions in some states that require it. So if you're not required by law to renew your license with a CPE, you could ignore this part, right? You could the next minute or so, it doesn't matter. Most attend the live webinar, so we are going to record this, and you can watch the recording later. But the recording itself, we cannot monitor, so CPE will only be given to attendees that are here through the entire 50 minutes. The process is simple. We're going to have a sort of a password, a keyword that's going to come up. You write it down, and then towards the end of the webinar, pretty much at the top of the hour, we're going to ask you what that keyword is, and you're just going to answer the polling question. And within 2 weeks or so, you should get your certificates. The attendees from 2 weeks ago should have gotten your certificates a couple of days ago. And that's it. If you have any questions, just email me or send me a chat request through here, and we'll take care of it.
Very good. Thank you, Hector. And again, please wait the 2 weeks because there's a lot of people that need CPE. It does take a little bit of time to get those done. Thank you, Hector. We also wanted to remind you guys about some upcoming events. We would love to meet you guys in person. I know we've got a lot of people on here, and I know a lot of you, but I also see a lot of new names. So come up and say hi to Hector and I. We both will be at QuickBooks Connect next week in San Jose. I can't wait. I have been so excited for this. I'm like a kid getting ready for Christmas. It's going to be an amazing conference. It's next week in San Jose. It's not too late to join us. I will be presenting for the first time ever the QBO Advanced Certification. You heard that right. There's now going to be an advanced certification for QuickBooks Online, and I'm teaching it for the first time ever at QB Connect next week. Those of you that are ProAdvisors, you will get it in your course locker after the QB Connect conference, but the people who are attending the conference will have access first. But it will be available to you later. If you haven't joined the Cloud ProAdvisor program, it's free. I encourage you to do that. Then Hector and I both will be at the Sleater Accounting Solutions Conference in November in Las Vegas. Love to have you joining us for that as well. Hector's going to be talking more in depth about importing data from Excel into QuickBooks and getting it in. He's only got 15 minutes on this session today, but at Sleater Conference he's going to go more in depth for about, what, Hector, an hour, 45 minutes are those sessions? About 100 minutes, I think they are.
No, they're 50. They're 1 hour sessions.
So for an hour. Okay. Well, super. But yeah, he and I both will be at these events. So come up and say hi and introduce yourself. We'd love to see you there and have you join us. So I'm going to start by talking about getting this data into QuickBooks Online. We're all about saving time. So I'm going to talk about those downloaded transactions. Make sure you avoid some problems with that too. The improved bank rules that just recently came out. And then also I have a blog post on the Sleater blog that talks about avoiding mistakes with downloaded transactions. And Hector and I will post these PDF of these PowerPoints on the QB PowerHour website after this, so you can get those there and get the link to that as well. But let me go ahead and go into QBO and make sure I'm in the right one. So first of all, let's talk about working with the downloaded transactions. This is where you really are going to get time saved by being able to set up these bank feeds. So the first thing you want to do is under the banking section, under transactions and banking, you want to add an account. And so what you'll do is you'll go out here and you will put in your account name, for example, like Commerce Bank is one of my bank accounts. So I would come in here and find which one matches my bank. I may need to look at Show All to see and find the right bank that I have. So I would find my bank. Then I come along, I put in there my customer ID and my password. Now, if you have clients that you do not want their password or they don't want to give it to you, this is a perfect opportunity to use a remote access like join.me. So you can log in and watch them to make sure they're setting this up properly, that they're choosing the right bank account. For example, at Commerce Bank, I have a personal account there as well as my business account. You want to set up the right bank account. So log in remotely, and I like to use join.me to log in, help them set up that bank feed. Once it's set up, you're going to get these transactions that have cleared the bank or the credit card every night automatically. Now, when you first set up your bank feed, you're going to get 90 days of transactions, roughly 90 days. If you need more than that, what you need to do is log into the bank's website and download transactions, not bank statements. If you have bank statements that are in PDF form and you need to get those into QuickBooks Online or desktop, that's where ScanWriter is going to share some information on how to get a PDF of a bank statement imported into QuickBooks and quickly reconcile the bank account. So you're going to see that a little bit later. But if you go to the bank's website and you're able to download those transactions, you need to download them in one of these three file formats, the QFX, QBO, or OFX. And this is like Microsoft Exchange, Quicken, or QuickBooks. So one of those three file formats. You would go download, let's say you need January through June. Go to the bank, download January through June 30th, save that file, and then you would browse and upload that file. So when QuickBooks at first downloads 90 days, you may need to log into the bank's website to get the rest of those and import those manually. Then they will show up here along with all the other transactions that have downloaded. Now, what happens sometimes is it downloads 90 days of transactions, but you already had some of those in the QuickBooks file when you converted, let's say, from the desktop. You may need to exclude some transactions. So let's say if I sort these by date, let's say that I already had some of these transactions in here. Maybe I had through the end of June, so I could select some of them that I already had. Under batch, I can exclude them. In other words, they downloaded, but I already have them, so now I want to exclude them. So I could click on exclude so that I don't get duplicates in QuickBooks. If I wanted to bring them back, they're still on this excluded tab right here. I can select all, batch, undo. That will put them back over here in new transactions. Okay? After I've accepted them into QuickBooks, they go into this tab, and I can undo from over there as well. So you can move things back and forth. Now, once I've got these transactions imported into QBO, either through the automatic download every night or through a file that I've uploaded, first thing I do to save time is I sort everything. And you're going to notice a couple of things. I'm going to talk about bank rules in just 1 second. But it will match transactions. So if you've already entered that transaction in QuickBooks and it sees it that it's a similar amount, it's the same amount, and about the same date, it allows a couple of days for things to clear, it will say, we think this is a match. Is that a match? And if it is, all you need to do is click on match. If it's something like this down here at the bottom that has never been put into QuickBooks before, it's going to say uncategorized expense, and you can choose what that is supposed to be posted to, and then you can add that transaction to post it into QuickBooks. So you match something that's already in QuickBooks. You can add new transactions that aren't there at all. Now, the bank rules are the new thing, and I love the bank rules, but I'm not happy. I still want more. I always want more. So let's talk about the bank rules, how they work, and then I'm going to talk about what I want to see added to them as well. So first of all, I go through and I will sort by add or match, and I'll do a bunch of these at the same time. But then later, I will sort by description, so I can see all the ones that are the same together. And this is where we don't care about the date. We just want to get these transactions processed efficiently. And this is where, especially for your shoebox clients, you can save a ton of time being able to do this. So you'll see if I sort by description, I have 4 of these that all say Supplies Depot Anytown. And 3 of them have a rule applied to them, but this one does not. Let's go in and look at the rules and talk about why the rules apply to some and why it's not. And notice that this one is $35. So let's go in and look at the rules by clicking on this drop-down next to Update and go to Manage Rules. So in the rules, I've already set some up. We were talking about Supplies Depot. Let's go in and take a look at that. Under Supplies Depot, I have said for this rule for money out, so we can set up rules for money out or money out in I'm currently in the Visa bank account. When the description contains Supplies Depot, in other words, it contains, if it says Supplies Depot store number 392 or 463 or whatever, you know how sometimes they put other things on there? You can say if it contains. You don't have to worry about it being an exact match. So I can say if the description contains this word and I added an additional criteria and the amount is less than a certain amount. That's why it applied this rule to 3 of those transactions, but not the 4th. And a good example of this might be if I'm at Supplies Depot and it's less than, let's say, $300 instead of $30, then I want it to go to office supplies right here. Where do you want it to go? If, on the other hand, it's more than $300, maybe I want it to go to a fixed asset account. So this is where you can filter things, or if it's over $300, you need to review it to see should it be office supplies or should it be a fixed asset instead. So you can have criteria based on the description, the bank text, or the amount. And then you can indicate where do you want that to go. So that's one rule. Then another example that I have, let's look at this one here on Coffee Place, because this is where it really gets cool with these bank rules. It can save us a ton of time. So I'm saying whenever I see Coffee Place, you know, I made up the name obviously, whenever I see Coffee Place, I want to split it. instead of having it all go to one account, I can split down here 50-50. I want half of it to go to meals and entertainment, and I want half of it to go to non-deductible meals or whatever account you choose. So that's really cool where we can specify a certain percentage to different ones. You also could do that if you had a loan payment. So on this one, I have a loan payment where I'm saying when you see Bank of any city, whichever the bank is, put this amount to the loan and the remainder to the interest expense, or vice versa. What you could do is go through and say, what's my interest expense for the whole year, or my loan payment, the principal for the whole year, divide by 12, and do a fixed amount every month. And then at the end of the year, you can adjust that as you need to. But this then would automate that, so whenever it sees the loan payment come through, it's automatically posted part to the loan principal and part for the interest expense. How cool is that? And if you think about the bank rules, think about when we're working with our small business owners and our clients, they have a lot of the same transactions every month. They have utilities, they have rent payments, they have loan payments, they buy supplies and materials a lot of times from the same places, right? So these bank rules allow us to set things up and really automate it. So when you get a new client, you go through and set these rules up, and it's going to take you some time initially, but then you're going to be able to come through here, and let me go ahead and close this. You're going to be able to say, okay, I'm reviewing all of these. These look great. Batch actions, accept them all at one time. You're going to be able to go through and do lots of transactions in a very short period of time. Huge, huge time saver for you on these bank rules. Now, what is it that I want to see different? What do I want to improve on this? One of the things I want to improve is when I create a rule, so I'm going to click on New Rule. Here's one of the things that I would like to do. So this might be parking and mileage. Oh, it doesn't like the and mileage. I want to say whenever something comes through from KCI Parking, because I'm in Kansas City, down here under the split, I want to be able to put 100% of this to parking expense. But then after that, I want to add a journal entry that's going to put this to owner's draws and mileage expense, because I want to post my mileage. And I could add this account, but I'm not going to. So I want the top one to go to parking. I want the top one to go to parking. And then, so 100% of this to parking. And then I basically want to make a journal entry to record the mileage that goes along with that. So that's one of the things that I would like to be able to do. And currently, I can't even assign 100%. I can only assign 99.9. See how this is all red? It will only allow you to do 99.9%. 99.99, let's get it right. There we go. It will only allow you to go up to 99.99. So that's one thing that I want to be able to do, is I want to be able to make a journal entry along with that posting of that expense that's coming through. The other thing, you can see you can assign by class, and I can assign by location. I can assign it to a particular customer or job, and I can't make it billable. So those are a couple of things that I wish I could do. The other thing I wish I could do is I wish I could have a template. I wish after I set up all these rules and I have 10, 20, 30 different rules, I want to apply those rules to my other clients. What if my client is a franchise and they have multiple locations? Let's say they have 5 different restaurants. A lot of these rules would apply to all 5. I want a template so I could export these rules and import them into another client if I needed to, or if I wanted to, because it will save us so much time. So that's some of my wish list, some of my goals that I wish it could do. And I just hope you'll get in here and play with some of this. If you go out to the sample company, there are some transactions that are downloaded. You can go in and play with setting up a rule and doing some of that stuff. When you're logged into QBOA, QuickBooks Online Accountant, which is accounting professionals we get for free, click on the question mark, and up here in the upper right where it says sample company, and you can go out there and play with those bank rules and the downloaded transactions and see how that's going to save you a ton of time. Okay, so I know.
Michelle, let's go over some questions.
Yes, yeah, so I was going to say, Hector, I know I went over it quickly. What are a couple of questions?
Okay, we have like a million questions. Okay, so one of the questions was, which I think you answered, is with the bank rules you can have multiple, you can hit multiple classes. Somebody was asking about amortizing a loan. from that perspective, you won't be able to amortize the loan, correct? You could do the 2 splits, but the amount will not be assigned automatically, correct?
Right. So you need to look at the loan amortization schedule and see how much is interest and how much is principal, like over this year. So what's the total interest for the year? Divide by 12. Use that amount for each month. And then at year end, adjust to the loan amortization schedule. And I know somebody else is asking about the 100%. That only applies when you're doing a split. Like here, if I just say this coffee is going 50-50, if I just wanted it to go to one account, then I don't put the split. Like this Supplies Depot, it's just going to one account. You don't have to put in 100% at all. It just, you say Supplies Depot, you just choose one account. So you don't have to worry about that. It's only when you're trying to split and make a journal entry in that bank rule.
Okay, there's quite a few questions or comments about bank rules and desktop. So we're trying to, for now, just cover online. Okay, so for desktop, maybe that could be a suggestion. Go to the qbpowerhour.com and suggest a topic if you want to see the same example on the desktop side, because many people are asking about the desktop. How would you do this in desktop? It's different in desktop, this and that.
Yes, and there are bank rules in the desktop, and they are a little bit different. So, but that, yeah, we'll have that in another webinar or another series. And actually, if you go to YouTube, I think there are some videos out there for bank rules for QuickBooks Desktop. Just Google it, and I'm sure you'll find some stuff on that. But I love these bank rules. I love being able to import transactions and deal with these downloaded transactions. It saves you a ton of time when you're trying to get that data into QuickBooks. And again, you can import for a bank account, credit card account. It's awesome. But with that said, Hector, let's hear what you have about getting data into QuickBooks Desktop.
Okay, go ahead and give me access to share my screen.
I'm doing that right now. There you go. So I pass the ball to you. And remember, ScanWriter is going to show you when you don't have the transactions, but you have a PDF, how do you get those in there? They're going to talk about that in a little bit. So Hector, go ahead.
Exactly. Can you see my screen, PowerPoint presentation?
Yes, we can see your screen, and you've got control.
Got it. Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to cover batch enter transactions in QBA, which is also available in QuickBooks Enterprise. This tool, it's incredible, and as I go to other accounting firms in the area where we do some sort of local private CPE, we see so many people underutilizing or not using this tool. So I want to take advantage and kind of cover a practical example with a real bank statement and show you how that will work. Also, I'm going to play a little bit with add, edit multiple items. It's actually going to go sort of hand in hand. So I'm going to switch over to my virtual PC here inside of my Mac. And Michelle, can you see my spreadsheet? Maybe Michelle's muted. Okay, I'm just,
yes.
Okay, yes. Perfect. Okay. Yeah, I won't ask you any more questions. All right. So assume that, if we can do everything through bank feeds, that is probably the best option, the best optimal situation. There are situations where we can't get bank feeds because we have the 90-day problem, right? So we can only get up to 90 days, or because our client doesn't want to give us access to the bank, or no matter how much we try to explain it over the phone, they can't get it to work. So the alternative to this would be assuming that we have an actual Excel spreadsheet, right? Maybe we downloaded this straight from the bank. This is actually my real bank statement for the last 3 months, for July through September. So assuming that we can get a spreadsheet like this, and then I'm going to show you how to get this data into QuickBooks using the batch enter tool. But I'm going to show you a couple of tricks, and some of these tricks are going to be sort of Excel related, not necessarily QuickBooks related. So kind of bear with me as we're going to switch QuickBooks and Excel back and forth. So the first kind of thing I will do is I need to separate debits and credits, because with QuickBooks batch enters, I'm going to show you, just to give you some background here, we're talking about this tool here called batch enter inside of Accountant Edition. So with this tool, I have a choice. I can bring in deposits or checks. I can't bring both at the same time. So I have to do it in two different passes, two separate passes. So I'm going to start with checks. So I'm going to come in here, and then I'm going to just run a quick filter here, because the way my bank downloads, it actually tells me if it's a debit or a credit. So I can actually use Excel filters to just filter these out. So I'm just going to select here check and debit. That way I'm only going to see debits. Okay, good. That's the first step. The second step is on these descriptions, we're going to have to clean these up a little bit. But I'm going to show you a trick. It's actually a really nice trick to have. Is I'm going to create a new column, and then what's going to happen is the original description exactly as the bank has it, we're not going to touch that. Okay, one of the things that frustrates me about doing bank feeds sometimes is that that we will rename the word from the bank, and then if there's a mistake there, we have to go back to the physical statement to double check. So by keeping a field for memo that keeps the original wording untouched, unadulterated, it gives you the chance to always review that. On the second column that I created, this new column, we're going to call this A. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the information from the memo side into payee, but I'm going to limit it to 41 characters. So this is an Excel thing, right? So we're going to do equals left, and we'll select the text. And basically the left command, what it does, it only gives me the first X amount of characters from the left to the right. So by doing this, I only get the first 41 characters, right? So anything that's really utterly long that's going to cause a problem, like all these weird numbers, they're going to be cut out or at least cut short. Okay, so that's the first kind of thing that I do. The second thing I do is I'm going to copy this data and repaste it back in there with, let me just unfilter this here for a second. So I'm going to take this exact same thing that I did. I'm going to undo my filter. And then I'm going to take this formula that we did with the left formula. I'm going to apply it to all my debits and all my credits. So I'm just kind of dragging this down. I know through the webinar you may get this information sort of flickering. So what I'm doing is I'm just copying the information so it just repeats throughout all my debits and all my credits. Okay, there we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this information. I'm going to repaste it back in there, values only. Okay, that way I don't get any other formulas in there. Okay, and then I'm going to go back and do my filters again. And I know this is kind of techie stuff, but I'm telling you, once you learn this, and this will be recorded, it's going to be great. Now, some of these vendors, like for example, AC Moore, I'm going to shorten this manually. Right? This will take a little bit longer, right? Because there's some sort of manual cleanup here in Excel. But if you have a lot of repeating vendors, like Best Buy, for example, I can just drag them and copy them like this. So I'm just going to show you a couple, okay? So the next step is, after we cleaned up our spreadsheet, we're going to grab this entire payee list, and we're going to copy it, okay? And then we're going to go into QuickBooks, and then we're going to switch over to List, Edit Multiple List Entries, and then we're going to go into Vendors, and then we're going to paste them all in there. So now a caveat to this is, if I don't clean them up in Excel first, I'm going to get a lot of sort of repeated vendors with, the last digits of the store number or the transaction number or something like that. So by doing this, you have to keep in mind, right, these checks would have to be actual real payees, and some of these cost codes, for example, should have been compressed into one. For the sake of time, we're just sort of doing this a little bit quicker. So I'm going to save these here, and then basically what it's going to do is going to, in my vendor list, it's going to bring in, and this was a blank file before, it's going to bring in all the wording exactly as it came from the bank. Now, again, this is why it's so important, which we're not doing it, the complete exercise. It's so important to clean this up in Excel before bringing them in, because this will give you sort of a crowded vendor list, right? And we can manually adjust these, but it will just be more painful. Okay, so that's the first kind of part there. Then what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that these columns here, date, number, memo, payee, and debit, match exactly in our batch enter transactions in QuickBooks. So we're going to click on Customize Columns on the top right, and we're going to repeat this. So it's going to be date, and then the second one was memo. Let's just double check that. Date. It was actually date, number, memo, payee, amount. So we're going to do date, number, memo, payee, and amount, exactly, right? So now I got my 5 columns right here across that look exactly like my spreadsheet. So I'm going to copy all this information. I'm going to hit copy. And I'm going to go back into QuickBooks, and then I'm going to select the top left box, right-click, and paste. And what the system will do is going to bring in every date, every transaction number, the original memo exactly as came to the bank. So for example, Best Buy, we had cleaned that up in Excel to just Best Buy, but I still get the full name. You would be utterly surprised on how useful it is to maintain the original name from the bank, because a bookkeeper, a data entry person sometimes renames it to something else, and then you don't get the original information. Then I'm going to click Save Transactions, and the system is literally going to push in 300 transactions, whatever amount is, into it. Now, some of these, the ones that are missing information, like for example these here, the vendor wasn't created for some reason, so I have to create the vendor for these, right? And then lastly, the system didn't let me push them in because I'm missing an account, right? So I do have to do the last piece, which is actually classify these things. Just to simplify, I'm going to grab an account here, office supplies, and then we're making the assumption that we're going to go down and actually select all of these. So I just did all of them sort of in one shot, just so they all come into one ledger account. So I'm going to hit Save Transactions. I'm going to hit Yes. And then these are hundreds of transactions being pushed into QuickBooks. You can change the vendor name later on. You can merge vendor names later on, and that sort of thing. Now, for the ones that I didn't clean up, because I didn't clean them all up, I would have to, or I didn't import, I actually have to go down the list here and make sure that I'm creating vendors. So, so I'm going to go in here and create the vendors. I can't have columns here because QuickBooks won't recognize columns. So for example, this one says it has a little column between fee and 01, so we have to definitely get rid of that. So after we go down, we just have to make sure that these names are not too long, right? And they have to be created as vendors. And as we go down, the system's going to recognize them as vendors, and the little red will go away. So as you see it, this come through, then the system starts recognizing these. And again, if you're cleaning them up in QuickBooks already, in Excel, and you're using them, the system is just going to recognize them exactly how it's doing it now. So I'm going to hit Save Transactions. Finish here. The transactions are being saved, and I want to make sure I'm good with time. There we go. So I'm going to go into my bank register just to kind of show you, and I'm going to go into Chase, and there it is. This was empty before, so all the transactions came in. That's $89,000 worth of transactions. Okay. If I go into Excel here, I could double check the amount of transactions and just do a quick sort of check. When we reconcile, it will show up. Okay, because of time, I think I was going a little bit fast. So Michelle, would you agree? Should I go a little bit slower for the second piece?
Hector, you're out of time.
Already.
What was your second piece?
No, it's the deposit side. No, I think I still have time. We have until 12:40 for ScanWriter. Or should we open it? Let's open it up for some questions. Let's do that. Open it up for some questions.
While we do a couple of questions, you forgot to do the CPE keyword. Could you put that up for us?
Oh yeah, sure, absolutely. So CPE keyword.
Let's do the CPE keyword. Yeah, and then we had a couple of questions here that came through about that. About do you have to put a payee name? Was what I thought, or could you leave the payee field blank?
You can leave the payee field blank. Yes, you can.
And can you add columns? Can you add columns or change the headings?
Okay, let me wait one more second for everybody to get the CPE question. So the question is, according to me, what should you never put in a guacamole? And it's tomato. Okay. All right. Anyway, let's switch over. So the question was, the question is, can I change the header name? So if I understand correctly, let me go back into this tool here, into customize columns. I can only use the ones that are here. Okay. In addition, if I have custom fields, but they're name level custom fields, they will show up here too. So it's just the ones that are available here. I can't add random columns because the QuickBooks won't know where to put the data. So I can only add the columns that QuickBooks allows me to put data in it.
And Hector, can you add an item there? Because somebody was just posting that they wanted to be able to add items and that they were upset that you could only do accounts. You need to add that column so that you can add items.
Exactly. Great point. I cannot remove the account from it. So I can add the item. And then once the item is in there, I'll show you there's the item. So once the item's in there and you choose the item, the account column grays out. right? So you won't be able to add an item and account because then the system will go haywire. So yes, you can add an item, a single item though. So one of the deficiencies, not a deficiency, but one of the challenges is if you're importing data that has multiple items, you cannot do them in batch. You have to go down here on the bottom where it says split, and then you can actually paste them with individual items inside of them, but you have to do transaction by transaction. So I cannot batch enter multiple transactions with multiple items. I can do multiple transactions with one item, but if I have multiple items, I have to come in here and do one by one. It's still better than manual entry, though.
Very good. Yeah, and that's the key here, Hector, is that we're trying to help you guys avoid manual data entry. So when you've got, like, it's a good example here, when you've got historical transactions you download from the bank, these are ways we're trying to help you to get these transactions into QuickBooks quickly and efficiently and saving us a lot of time so we're not doing manual data entry. Now, Hector and I both have been talking about what do you do when you get the history from the bank and you're able to download those transactions, and now we can get it into QuickBooks Online or QuickBooks Desktop. What about when we can't download those transactions? What about when all you have from a client is the PDF and you've got PDF bank statements? That's where we've asked ScanWriter to come and show you this awesome way to get those transactions into QuickBooks. So are the ScanWriters people ready? Who should we transfer the presenter to? Michelle Dulog or Jeanette?
Michelle Dulog.
All right, I'm going to pass you the presenter ball and ask you to show us how to do that when we don't have the downloaded transactions. Now what do we do?
And Michelle, when that happens, I just want to conclude. What the topic I'm covering is very, very heavy. I only covered one little piece of it, and I did it kind of fast. If you guys like this particular subject, which is something I'm utterly passionate about, go to the qbpowerhour.com website and suggest in-depth data import, and we'll do that. So thank you. I just wanted to make that little commercial there.
Yeah, and Hector, that's a great point, that as you guys want to know more about certain things, we can do deeper dives and do special Power Hour, 1 hour, on a certain topic as we go along. So, Michelle, you ready to go?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Right.
I can't see your screen yet. Did you start sharing? I'm still seeing Hector's.
I did share my screen.
Are you, okay. Hector, are you seeing their screen?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay. All right. Go ahead then. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Michelle and Hector. And I'll be showing everyone how to automate their data entry using ScanWriter. With ScanWriter, you can boost the effectiveness of your organization. And as an Intuit Gold Certified solution, we support both QuickBooks Desktop and Online. We offer exceptional ROI on our solution. You'll usually break even with your first project. So with year-end right around the corner, it's a great solution. It will automate your workflow with an audit trail, as well as automate your reconciliation, which I'll show today. We support any type of document, including over 35,000 bank and vendor bill documents. You should save 90% of your data entry time. So this enables you to engage in large projects and read any type of specific client paper documents, Excel, and PDF. And we do support multiple languages, 21 different ones. And so how does ScanWriter work? You can take any type of document, PDF, as long as it's computer typed, bring it into ScanWriter, and import it into an accounting solution such as QuickBooks, which we'll show you today. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into my demonstration, and I'll show you how we can automate data entry for a bank statement. So let's say a client walked in with a bank statement. I have my QuickBooks up and running. And my company file that I'm using is USA Inc. And we'll go ahead and launch our ScanWriter software separately, where we'll follow the 3 steps that you see in front of you. You'll select the QuickBooks company file that you're working on, so you as the accounting professional can really add and remove clients as they come in. We'll click Use Current to select my company file that's open, USA Inc. And we'll go to the Document Management button where it gives us a list of what we call readers. A reader is a file that we create that tells ScanWriter what you're working on. So an Amex credit card versus a Chase Bank statement. And in this case, I have a Bank West checking account. You can access our readers through our library, or you can make a request if you're using a small credit union. So we'll select my Bank of the West. We'll go to the data import. Oops, I guess I saved my last import. You can either scan the document on the fly or browse for it. So since my document was previously scanned in, I'll browse for my Bank of the West checking PDF. And I'll click Read Data. ScanWriter will go through each page and pick up the information that you need. And it takes about 10 to 15 seconds per page, really depending on your computer speed. I have an 18-page bank statement. And of course, the quality of the document matters. If you're scanning in the original or have the downloaded PDF, your accuracy should be in the high 90s to 100%, like you'll see today. And in just a few seconds, you'll see the data that ScanWriter picked up on that right panel. So it finished reading my document. I'll click Continue. And on the left panel is the image of the statement. On the right is the data we picked up. ScanWriter will total the amounts for you so you can compare what ScanWriter picked up to the cover page of your statement. So if we add up the two credits and deposits, it comes up to this $71628.99 amount. And if we add up the withdrawals and checks from your bank statement, it'll come up to this $67200.68. So we know that everything is 100% accurate. ScanWriter will also color code the data for you. So if it finds something that it wants you to review, you can easily click on the colored font. And when you click on any of the cells, it will highlight exactly where it comes from. So if you need to review, you can do that pretty quickly. Once you see that all my data is accurate, I'll click Next on the bottom right. And it'll take us to the QuickBooks import screen where it really organizes the data for you according to the transaction type. So it'll ask us what year we're entering. So we'll put 2014. If a client came in and hasn't done anything for 6 years, you can put in the appropriate year. And it will ask you what QuickBooks account or register do you want to push these transactions into. So this drop-down is coming from my QuickBooks. I'm going to select my Bank of the West checking account and click OK. It will separate. We have, we have 28 deposits and 236 checks. So we'll start with the checks, because that's usually where the volume is at. Each column represents a field from the check, the date, the bank account, the name, and each row represents a different transaction. There are two types of checks. We have the electronic withdrawals, and then at the bottom we have the checks with the check numbers. Okay. The electronic withdrawals are very easy. Under the business name column, we can pick up what we think the vendor is based on the description. And the first time you can select the name of the vendor using the drop-down menu, which is synced with your company. Once you set this, it'll remember for next time. And same thing with the expense account. It'll automatically bring up the last used expense account in QuickBooks. But of course, you can change it on the fly if it's a special case. So once we have the withdrawals, we can focus on the checks. I see two cases with the checks. Either they may already be in QuickBooks, or you have to enter them in if the client handwrites their checks. If some of the checks may already be in QuickBooks, you can click on the check match on the bottom of the screen. It'll go into QuickBooks and see if any of these checks exist. In addition to that, it'll mark them as clear in the reconciliation for you. So you don't even have to go back and match them one at a time. So it found 12 checks in QuickBooks. It marked them as clear. So the only thing I have to focus on are the checks that have not been entered. And you can tell which ones are in QuickBooks by the V in the valid column. So going by your client's register or the copies of the check, you can put in the appropriate payees. You'll notice the expense account will automatically come up based on the last transaction in QuickBooks. So we'll go ahead and just enter some of these vendors in. Okay. And if I scroll to the right, we do support all the fields in QuickBooks, the class, the customer job, the memo field, and so on. So once I'm ready to import, we'll go ahead and click the QB import button and click OK. It's going to confirm that we're going into the Bank of the West checking, and it's going to enter all my transactions in. And we automatically check for duplicates, so you don't have to worry about verifying the transactions. And we're about to enter a little over 200 transactions. One by one, as if you did it manually, except it'll do it a lot faster. We just entered 224 checks in 29 seconds, so you can see the time savings there. Once we enter the check, of course, we can enter the deposits. Each column, again, represents a field, the deposit to, the date, the from account, the receive from, and the amount. And because I've imported or I have transactions from last month, it memorized the account. So I'll go ahead and import into QuickBooks by clicking on the QB import button on the bottom right, and we'll also import the deposits as well. In addition to entering the data, it'll also reconcile it, which I'll show in a few seconds. We just completed 28 deposits in 6 seconds. I'll click OK. We'll jump into QuickBooks, and I like to go through my reconcile to see all the transactions that we've entered. We'll go through my Bank of the West checking. My ending balance is already there. I already entered it in. I'll click Continue. And if I expand the reconciliation, these are all the transactions that we enter. Notice that we're already marked as cleared. And we can click Reconcile now. You can see the difference is 0. So everything was entered accurately the first time. But let's say you had a question on a transaction. For example, what is this $17 for Uber? When you open the transaction, it's a normal QuickBooks record. You can edit it if you wish. Also, if you want to know where it came from, on the top right, you can click on our icon, and you can pull the related document directly from your QuickBooks. So you don't need to look for it, search for it, scroll through it. And my favorite part about this is it highlights exactly where that data is coming from on the statement. So it's great for those year-end or month-end general ledger reviews when you want to double-check a transaction. So that's ScanWriter in a nutshell. It works great for bank credit card statements, vendor bills, and other types of computer-type documents. And I'll go ahead and close out.
Michelle, if you want me to chime in.
Absolutely.
I'll chime in a minute, Michelle. So first of all, we chose ScanWriter as a guest speaker for the show, Michelle and I, because we actually use this software. I use ScanWriter literally every day. There was a point in my career maybe 3 years ago where I said I will not do any more write-up data entry, and when ScanWriter came into place, everything changed because all of a sudden, if our clients give me full statements or PDF statements, we can do these things so quickly. And in context, Michelle Long was showing you best case scenario, right? We can do bank feeds. Bank feeds are probably going to be the simplest way to go about it. Worst case scenario is what I was describing. We have it in Excel, and we have to do all this technical cookie stuff to get it in there. And ScanWriter is a great bridge. It's sort of in the middle. So I wanted to say that because I'm actually a user of ScanWriter, and we use it in our practice every day. And exactly what she described is what we do on a daily basis to input data for our clients. So I just wanted to say that.
And so I do have a few questions for you, Michelle, that have come in. First of all, just to clarify, it does work with QuickBooks Online as well, correct?
Correct.
And what about Canada? Does it work with Canada? Because we've got several people on here from Canada.
Absolutely. We support the Canadian version of QuickBooks, and we even have special fields to accommodate their tax.
Very good. That's fabulous. And then some people are asking about, is it hardware, is it software? Can you kind of explain how they get it integrated with QuickBooks?
Absolutely. ScanWriter is software. You can purchase a license, install it on your computer or server, and it integrates into your QuickBooks, with your QuickBooks, excuse me. You can use any good quality scanner. If you do not have one, we also offer one as well.
And will it work in a hosted environment?
Absolutely. We support both workstation and server hosted environment. Yes.
Oh, cool. Okay. Hector, did you see some other questions you wanted to ask, or do you want me to keep going ahead? Because we had some questions about what about doing splits? Can you do job costing? Can you assign a class?
Oh, yes. You can. We support the class and job costing fields from QuickBooks. We can absolutely do that. And you can absolutely split a transaction as it's easy as just inserting a row. We talked about mortgage statements. If you have to split between the principal and interest, you can do that in ScanWriter just as easy, just by inserting a row. So, yes,
and now, Michelle, these were transactions you were importing. What if I've already got some stuff in there? Can I match it to existing transactions?
Absolutely. I showed a little bit of it in the preview screen. We have a match option that will tell you which transactions are already in QuickBooks, and it'll go beyond that. It'll actually mark them as cleared in the reconcile if you wish. So since they're already in QuickBooks, you're already closing out the month, you might as well reconcile them automatically, so it'll mark them for you in the reconcile so that you'll have the complete list there. So yes, you can do that.
Very good. Now, this is another question because you just showed us how to get in the PDF bank statement, but I know ScanWriter could do more than that. And we had a question about, does it support non-bank financial statements like bills from the insurance company, utility bills, things like that? Hector,
yes.
Can you mute yourself?
Yes. We support any type of computer type documents. Bills are very common with ours. Any type of as long as it's computer typed versus handwritten, we can do the special reports, any type of document we support. We do support.
Awesome. Now, Michelle, we also had some questions from people about what's the cost and is there discounts and stuff. And I know we asked you to do a special offer for people who are attending QB PowerHour. So do you want to share with them what you agreed to do for us?
Yes. Yes, per the request of Hector and Michelle, we're offering a special promo for the attendees here only. With a purchase of a ScanWriter license, we're offering a free scanner. And it's a great scanner. It sells for about $600 or so. So with a purchase of a license, you get a free scanner. You just pay the $35 shipping. And a workstation license, I'll go over the pricing a little bit. A workstation license is a one-time fee, starts at $995. You can visit our website, and I'll bring that up for more information and to place an order. And I'll bring up our website and telephone. And the special promotion does end by the end of today, 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. So to take the offer with the free scanner with the purchase of a license, you do have to place the order today.
And one thing I would just like to point out to people is I know some people say, gosh, that's a big upfront investment. And I would just challenge you to think about something. I know a lot of you joining me today and on this webinar, you probably do taxes, right? How many of you do taxes manually? Probably nobody anymore, right? Remember how we used to fill the forms out, but you don't do that anymore. You use a tax prep software, right? Why do we use QuickBooks at all? Why don't we use a green ledger pad or use Excel? We use these tools because they make us much faster, more efficient, so we can do more faster. It allows us to be more profitable. ScanWriter, yeah, it's an investment, but it's going to help you make a lot more money because it's a tool that's going to save you hours and hours of time. And this is a key here. Stop billing hourly. Somebody just posted on here, I wish I would have known about this 2 days ago. I just spent 8 hours inputting transactions. So let's say you were charging them, $800. Now you've got a tool that allows you to get that done in an hour. Should you charge them hourly? No. You want to start doing value pricing. And this tool can help you to be much more efficient and more profitable. So if you've got a lot of data entry that you've been doing manually, you need to learn about some of the things that Hector and I shared, both with QuickBooks Online, setting up those bank fees and setting up bank rules and things like that, using the batch enter transactions like Hector was talking about with the desktop, and also ScanWriter if you need to get the PDF transactions in. That's another tool in your toolbox to help you be a more efficient ProAdvisor. Do you guys want to say anything as well? I'm going to, while we're talking, I'm going to push out the CPE poll question. So you guys, Hector.
Michelle Dulog, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Yeah, we have a question from the audience, actually several questions on the same exact topic. The question was the $9.99 a one-time fee or an annual fee? And is there a cost per client?
Good question. Pricing. The one user workstation is $9.95. That is a one-time fee, so it's not annual. It's a one-time investment. That's why you have one project. You'll get your return very fast. You pay a maintenance to cover the upgrade, so there's no more lump sum fee. There's a monthly maintenance that covers your training support, software upgrades, and unlimited standard readers, so all those bank and vendors. And that is $10 a month per QuickBooks, and you pay as you go. So it's perfect right now. You get someone at year end, they haven't done anything all year, $10 to do a whole year's worth, and so on. So it's pay as you go. You can really save a lot of time, and then the license is a one-time fee.
Okay, but that license
important thing to mention, Michelle, I don't know if you did cover that.
Michelle, it's a one-time license fee, but then a fee per client, not the $9.95 per client. Can you
Correct. Yeah, so it's $9.95 one time, and then the maintenance per client is $10 a month, $10. So you pay $9.95 to put it on a computer. You have 3 clients, you're going to be paying the monthly maintenance.
And Michelle, this is an active client. It's important to cover that. So
yes.
Because ScanWriter it has to support a lot of the accountants in creating readers for statements. A bank at any point in time can have 20 different versions of their bank statement. Chase has 3 versions of the Spanish version of their bank statement. So you have to all the time, tirelessly, ScanWriter has to create readers for them, and that's part of that cost. Correct? Is that, Michelle? Would you say that's a good assessment
Correct.
of that?
Correct. That's it. That service is included in that $10, as well as support. We have fantastic support. It's live. You'll always talk to a real life person in our office.
And I'm going to go ahead and close this polling question. So, Michelle, can you put up your contact information again, or are you? There you go. I encourage you guys. You have lots of questions, and we aren't able to get to all of them. So please reach out to them. Give them a call. They will be able to answer your additional questions. And again, the reason Hector and I asked ScanWriter to be part of this is because we both think it's a great tool for accounting professionals to be able to utilize to make us more efficient and working with our clients. Hector, do you have any other last-minute comments?
No, I'm good.
Okay. I'm going to take the ball back here now to share just a couple screens. ScanWriter, Michelle, thank you very much for joining us. We really appreciate that. Hector and I wanted to remind you, we want to know what topics you want us to cover. I'm thrilled to have this many people attending our Power Hours. It's all about you. What do you want us to talk about? What do you want to know more about? We'll keep adding it on. Keep in mind, we're going to do this every other week, roughly. We're adjusting it a little bit for Thanksgiving and Christmas, but roughly every other week. It's going to be an ongoing webinar series. So let us know what you want to know about. The next one is going to be on Halloween. So we won't have anything too scary. We might have lots of treats for you, though. You are already registered for that because we set it up as a webinar series, but you need to add that to your calendar so you don't forget. Again, please fill out that Survey Monkey. If you haven't done that yet, we really want to know your profile, more about you. So if you go to surveymonkey.com/S, for surveys, I guess, and then /QB PowerHour attendees. Please complete that survey for us so we know more about you. I appreciate all of you for joining this webinar with us today. Hector, what else you got to say? Hector muted himself again.
This muting and unmuting thing is crazy. So what I'll do, because some people don't have a chance to copy that survey from the slide, I'm going to push it in the chat. So I'm sending a sort of a global chat to everybody with that link, so you can do an easy copy and paste. We do want those survey results and those comments, because QB PowerHour is made for our accounting professional attendees, not for us. So we want to know what you guys want to see, what guest speakers, what topics, etc.
And very good. And just to clarify, it's Thursday, October 30th. Hector got the date wrong. I spelled the keyword wrong. What can you say? It's Thursday, October 30th will be the next one, not the 31st, which is a Friday.
That's
so
right.
October 30th. And also, it's 5 o'clock Pacific time, so West Coast time, those of you that got it. And then somebody else was wanting to know, ScanWriter, what's your phone number one more time, your contact information? Michelle?
Yes, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
All right. Yes, you can visit our website at www.personable.com. Our 800 number is 800-688-4281. So you can contact us.
Say that one more?
Absolutely.
Say it one more time.
Absolutely. Phone number is 800-688-4281. Website is www.personable, spelled like personable.com.
Very good. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Those of you that are asking if this is recorded, yes, we did record this. It will be available in qbpowerhour.com in the archives, as well as on my YouTube channel. Feel free to share it. Please invite other people and spread the word about QB PowerHour. Say hi to Hector and I at QB Connect and this Leader Conference. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Hector. Thanks, Michelle. ScanWriter people.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.